Tiny Blep. Tiny Blep. Look at that. No. No. Oh my god, he doesn't even care. Tee. Oh my god. So I've actually written? What? I don't know why I tried to say written. So I've actually read 3 chapters since I've last talked to you, and pretty much it's mostly just Marius freaking out because he hasn't seen Cosette or Jean Valjean in 2 seasons, I believe it is. They haven't been to the Luxembourg Gardens at all. And so he's just moping around for his lost love, even though he's literally never said a word to her or anything. So it's pretty much just talking about that and how everyone around him is noticing, and he literally has like no motivation to do anything anymore. The first chapter, I'm gonna read it, it's on page 627. I remember there was a sentence here. Yeah. He had ceased to be the hot-headed dreamer of dreams, the bold challenger of fate, the youthful builder of futures, his mind teeming with castles in the air, which that, I wonder, is where they get the song that Cosette sings, because she sings about a castle in the sky, and so I'm like, oh, is that where they got the idea for that? But then it goes on to say, he was like a stray dog, plunged in black despair. His life had become meaningless. Work disgusted him, walking tired him, solitude bored him. The vast world of nature, hitherto so filled for him with light and meaning, with wide horizons and wise counsels, had become an emptiness. Everything, it seemed, had disappeared. So he's depressed as fuck, and he ends up doing something a little strange. Like, there's these women that just kind of like push past him There's these women that just push past him this one day, and he sees that he thinks that they are the ones that dropped this package of papers that he finds on the ground, and he tries to call after them, and it doesn't work, kind of thing. And it turns out these letters, because he freaking opens them, because he's like, oh, maybe it has something to do with Cosette somehow, who he still thinks is named like Ursula or something. And he's like, maybe I can find her address this way. And I don't know how he comes to this fucking conclusion, but he reads the letters, and it has nothing to do with Cosette or anything. In fact, it might actually have to do with the Thenardiers, because they're basically all letters begging for money. One's supposed to be like some Spanish captain, the other one this like theater guy, another one a mom with a bunch of kids who was abandoned by her husband, kind of thing. But they're all written in the same handwriting with the same spelling mistakes and stuff, so like it's obvious that it's a scam to get money. And he's just kind of like, oh, well, this doesn't seem to make sense that the girls would have dropped this. And so he just kind of throws it in a corner and forgets about it, kind of deal. Because when he wakes up the next morning, there's a knock at his door, and it's a girl apparently, but it's not Cosette, I don't believe. So I'm wondering if it's one of the girls come to retrieve the letters or something, but I don't know how they would know he has them. I'm not really kind of understanding some of the logic being used here, but that's where I'm at right now. We're still focused on Marius, and I kind of am really looking forward to jumping back to Cosette and Jean Valjean, because I wonder if it's going to kind of catch us up with what they've been doing, or if it's just kind of like start in the time period we are now and go forward. I'm not really sure. But the next chapter is called Rose of the Underworld, so I'm assuming we're going to meet Eponine, and I'm kind of scared to find out her age in this, so we'll see how that goes. But today is Monday, and in about half an hour, we actually have to set out to go to dinner with our friends. We're going to this place called Mont, which is like a barbecue-focused place. Once a year, we all get together and do this, and there will be 9 of us, I think, this year. There should be 10, but one of us is in Dublin right now, and it's pretty much our D&D group plus significant others. So that's the plan for tonight. They have really good cornbread, so I'm honestly just so looking forward to having that, because cornbread really isn't a thing here at all. So having a place that makes it is pretty fantastic. But apart from that, I think that's the only thing going on this week. I think a lot of this week will mostly be like cleaning the apartment and just kind of getting ready for next Monday, which is when we go to Mont Michel for our 5-year wedding anniversary. July 11th is our wedding anniversary, as well as my grandma's birthday, because we had gotten married on her birthday to kind of honor her. So we leave early that Monday and get home late the next day on Tuesday. So that's going to be an interesting trip, but that's literally next week, so need to stop talking about that now. But that is all for now. 3 portions of cornbread. last night I was editing one of my reading vlogs, one of my Les Miserables reading vlogs, and I kind of had an epiphany. And I'm finding that editing the vlogs, since I'm so far behind, is really interesting because I see stuff that I've already forgotten. This is where this revelation kind of comes from. I had completely forgotten about the literal one chapter about Gavroche, and his family lives in the Gorbeau, is that what it's called? Gorbeau tenement, where Marius now is and everything. And I had forgotten, with all the like flipping back and forth between characters and timelines, that it's the family that lives in the same house as Marius. So Gavroche in the book is the son of the Thenardiers. And I remember back when we met those characters in the book and how I expressed like my surprise, oh, they have a son. I don't remember that at all in the musical and movie and stuff. And that's because I don't think he is. I've always thought in the musical that he's an orphan and that he really didn't have a family or anything. And I definitely don't remember any ties to the Thenardiers unless I just didn't see it or whatever. But in the book, he's definitely the son. And I don't know why I find that so surprising, but everything is just a lot more connected and based around the Thenardiers than I really expected, to be honest. So yeah, I just realized that last night while I was editing the other video. So I just wanted to say that, because I'm not that stupid, I swear. I can catch on to things, but that's just something I'd completely forgotten about. So I wonder if he'll pop up again at all now that we're kind of getting back to the Thenardiers. So I haven't read the chapter yet today. I just wanted to say a few things before I do that and come back. But yesterday I read the chapter Rose of the Underworld, and this has to be Eponine, who is only 16, I believe, so it's still, I think at this point Cosette is 15 and Eponine is 16, so she's just a year older, but it's like, can't they just be adults? Like, So I'm actually going to read you the description of her. She never says her name, but I mean, it's the oldest daughter of the Thenardiers, so like, it kind of has to be. So this is on page 633. It says, she was a lean and delicate-looking creature, her shivering nakedness clad in nothing but a chemise and skirt. Her waistband was a piece of string, and another piece tied back her hair. Bony shoulders emerged from the chemise, and the face above them was sallow and flabby. The light fell upon reddened hands, a stringy neck, a loose, depraved mouth lacking several teeth, bleared eyes both bold and wary. In short, an ill-treated girl with the eyes of a grown woman, a blend of 50 and 15, one of those creatures at once weak and repellent, who cause those who set eyes on them to shudder when they do not weep. So essentially, Eponine in the book looks absolutely nothing like she is portrayed in literally anything else, which is something that I've always thought was kind of weird. Like, the really, really poor and like downtrodden characters in Les Miserables never really look as such. Like, their clothes might be a bit dirty and tattered, but that's literally about it. Like, their skin and their faces still look perfect. I am more interested in these descriptions in the book of what these characters are actually supposed to look like, since none of the media is ever going to be accurate. So essentially, Eponine also acts very strange. Like, she pretty much goes into Marius's room and is just instantly like looking at everything, touching everything, commenting on everything. She's very extroverted, it seems, although it's kind of says that that's kind of more of like a front to like mask her nervousness. And she's like, look, I can write, look, I can read, and we'll just like grab a book and start reading something. And like there was paper on the desk, so she started writing something. And so she's just kind of like almost trying to impress Marius. But she's there to deliver a letter from her dad, which is pretty much just begging for money, which of course he gives because it's fucking Marius. Because the dad had found out that he was the one that had paid their rent 6 months ago. And he also returns those letters because he realizes that's the same handwriting, so obviously this bundle of letters belongs to them. And so he hands it back even though they're all scams and everything. And he doesn't really comment about them, like their content, or knowing that it's like them trying to scam people or anything. So I'm not sure if that's going to ever actually play a part or not. But I'm nervous about this chapter I'm about to read because it's called The Peephole, and I'm just like, please don't let Marius be a creep now, or even more so than he has been. But yeah. So I'm going to read that now, and I'll be right back with how that turns out. And I'm back just a few minutes later. So this chapter ended up being what I thought it was going to be and not at the same time. Until the last paragraph, I really thought that the peephole meant that he was able to see the world through Eponine, like in a different way. But no, he actually does find a peephole in his room to the Thenardiers' room, because there's just like a wall separating them. And he looks in it, but that's where it ends. And I'm going to backtrack a little bit here, because we have the title in the book now. So pretty much by meeting Eponine, Marius is just kind of like, oh my gosh, I thought I was poor, because he's spent like 5 years just living like in every little cent he can get. Then he realized like there's even levels like beneath where he is. They truly have nothing and have to kind of do whatever it takes to stay alive. And that he's this horrible person because he's been living next to them all this time and never realized, and blah blah blah, self-deprecating crap. And it's just like, what? Like, you're not... I feel like Marius has this really weird white savior complex, and it's a bit frustrating and annoying, because it's like you can't just swoop in and save all these people. Like, you are not some weird hero with like boundless money and stuff. But let's see, where do I want to start this? All right, so this starts on 639 and goes to the next page. It says, certainly they appeared utterly depraved, corrupt, vile, and odious, but it is rare for those who have sunk so low not to be degraded in the process. And of course, outside is being super noisy right now. And there comes a point, moreover, where the unfortunate and the infamous are grouped together, merged in a single fateful word. They are Les Miserables, the outcasts, the underdogs. And who is to blame? Is it not the most fallen who have most need of charity? And so that kind of ends where Marius is kind of scolding himself for not realizing their situation earlier, which I don't know why it's his responsibility to begin with. And then this whole last paragraph is him finding this fucking hole in his ceiling. And so the very last sentence is, he got up on the chest of drawers, put his eye to the aperture, and looked through. So yeah, he does decide to be a creep at the end, because he's basically like, oh my gosh, they're living in squalor, like, let's see like what these people are actually like and how bad things are. And so that's why that's his reasoning for looking through. And the next chapter is actually kind of long, so I will save that for tomorrow. But man, he doing some sketchy shit. He's gonna get involved with the Thenardiers now, probably. And he didn't show any interest in Eponine, thank God. Because from the other media, it's always like she is obsessed with him kind of thing, in love with him, and he's obviously in love with Cosette. And then after she dies, I think he kind of realizes he could have been with her too, kind of thing. But I'm interested to see how that's going to play out in the book. Everyone's ages just truly bothers me, but I know it's just the time this was written in. So that's where I'm at right now. Things are getting interesting. Like, we're finally having all the characters kind of meet each other, even though some of them haven't actually spoken, they've still seen each other, had some realizations, and I'm still just straight up enjoying seeing the differences in the book compared to everything else, and seeing the little hints of where maybe some of the songs came from, or certain changes in things. So it's really been a good time. Oh, she eating it already. Chomp chomp. Well, that was fast. She tipped it over.
That's what I expected.
I think it's been 2 days since I've checked in. I have not read my chapter yet today, but I actually read 3 yesterday, because I think we're kind of in an interesting spot where most of the main cast is kind of in the same area, and not all of them might know about it. So I ended the last clip with Marius finding this peephole in his room, and of course him looking through it, and pretty much he sees the room that the Thenardiers are living in, and it's pretty much exactly what you would expect. Like, there's a dirt floor, there's only like 1 bed, I think there was, maybe 2. There really isn't much else in terms of like furniture or anything, and there's only 1 window. And the man is writing another one of his letters at the table, while the wife is just kind of like poking at the fireplace a bit. And the younger daughter, I think she has some sort of mental disability. They don't use a good word for it in here, but it seems like that's probably the case. It also talks about how she looks like she's only like 11 or 12, but she's most likely 15. But since she's just doesn't have like the correct nutrition or anything, she just still looks like such a child compared to her actual age. And while he's observing them, the eldest daughter comes in, who I'm assuming is Eponine, but we still haven't heard names or anything. She's like in a tizzy and is just like, oh my gosh, he's coming, because she gave one of the letters that Marius had returned to her to the intended target, and he agreed to come to their house to presumably give like money or food or something. And I never really, like, I haven't been paying attention to who this is supposed to be, because I mean, it doesn't really tell. It gives the name, but everyone changes their name so often in here, it doesn't really mean anything. And so the man starts immediately like freaking out and like douses the fire, puts ashes over the embers and stuff, has the youngest daughter like punch her hand through the freaking window and to let the cold in, and she ends up cutting herself in the process. And he's like, good, like this is what I wanted. So he like tears his shirt to wrap her wrist, because he's like, now I have a torn shirt, now she's injured and crying, it's cold in here. And he like takes the pillow off of the chair and hides it. So he basically does as much as he can to make their situation seem even worse, even though they are literally like in squalor kind of thing. And like he has his wife like lay on the bed like she's sick or something. He's kind of like freaking out on the eldest daughter, like, are you sure he's coming? Are you sure? I don't want to have done all of this for nothing, blah blah blah. And as he's like going on this rant, there's a knock at the door, and in walks Jean Valjean and Cosette, of course, because the philanthropist that has been going to the church is of course Jean Valjean, and he has assumed another name. I'm gonna need to look it up because I definitely don't remember from yesterday. Can't find the name right now. I know it says it in here, but when I find it, I will let you know what it is. And so since Marius sees all this happening, he is obviously instantly just like shot through the heart kind of thing, and it's like, oh my god, it's her. So that's where I left off, is kind of the reveal that the people coming is Jean Valjean and Cosette, and Marius seeing her and just instantly freaking out about it. I don't know if he's gonna follow them when they leave or what's gonna happen, but now I'm curious, does Cosette recognize them? Like, does she know these are the people that she lived with when she was a baby and like a small child? And I would assume Jean Valjean would instantly recognize the mom and dad. Probably not the children, obviously, since they're going to be so different from when he last saw them. He has to recognize the parents, right? So I'm definitely curious to see how the interaction goes. So that will be the chapter that I end up reading today. Also today, we actually bought some cat grass, which I don't know if I'll have the clip before or after this one, but Torty was definitely chomping on that a bit. And tonight we see the new movie Thor: Love and Thunder. Usually movies come out on Wednesday here, and so I'm not sure why this one's coming out on a Friday, but I think it is earlier than the actual release date. Like, it's July 8th today, I believe. So we'll be seeing that at 8 o'clock tonight, which is just a few hours away. And I haven't been hearing the greatest things about it so far, so I'm kind of going into it, but that's why I'm wearing my Marvel shirt today. I'm a bit over Marvel movies at the moment. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness wasn't the greatest, and so my expectations for this one are just kind of like really mediocre, so fingers crossed it turns out okay, but with what I've been hearing, I'm not really expecting it to. So I'll be back in just a moment with my thoughts on the latest chapter. So just finished the chapter, and I think the Thenardiers are going to recognize Jean Valjean. He just left their house, but he will be back later in the evening, because the husband definitely kind of recognizes him but can't place it, and he told the wife to like study his face, like to see if she can figure it out. And so I think they might realize by the time he comes back that evening who he is, but there's no indication that him and Cosette know it all. But like I feel like he would know. Like, I know obviously it's been like 10 years or whatever, but the mom and the dad wouldn't have aged enough for that to make a difference, I think. And especially since like he recognizes Jean Valjean but just can't place it, like I feel like they definitely have to know, but there is no mention of that at all. So pretty much he goes there and the Thenardiers scam him out of like money and his coat and stuff, but honestly I think he's like just so fucking rich it really doesn't matter. and he just kind of wants to do good, I think, even if it's for not the best people. That's pretty much how the scene played out. Marius there was nothing from like what's going on in his mind or anything. I think that's going to be the next chapter. And that's pretty much it for today. I'll probably be ending this week tomorrow, which tomorrow is the Korean Food Festival in front of the Louvre here. So we're planning on going to that for lunch tomorrow and checking that out. Wow, I'm flipping my words around right now, but probably gonna try to have some like bibimbap or something, try some new things, and we haven't been to that before. This is the first time I've heard about it. I think it's like the 4th iteration of it. We'll see if it's what we expect.
Salle 4.
So today is actually Sunday instead of Saturday, because yesterday we ended up being out of the house a lot longer than I expected, and we were pretty exhausted when we got back because we ended up being away for about 5 hours, and it was really hot outside. It was like 85 degrees, and AC is very rare in anything here, so it was very hot everywhere we were. So pretty much we were just completely exhausted when we got back, so I didn't feel up to filming them. But yesterday, as you will have seen, was the Korean Food Festival, which was a bit different than we were expecting, but was really good. We ended up getting these chestnut jelly things for free because we filled out a survey after we ate one of the samples of it. It's different, but it is good. We got some Korean barbecue sauce, and then we had this Korean chicken, which had, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to say it. It was like nyam 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 nyam. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, but it was this really like sweet and very spicy sauce, but it was freaking delicious. It was some of the best chicken we've ever had. So that ended up being a good success. It was a really good lunch. And then after that, we ended up going to La Défense. I was trying to find a dress to wear for one of the days of our trip starting tomorrow, and I ended up having to go to 4 shops to find that. But anyway, today I just finished reading 2 chapters in Les Miserables, and pretty much what I thought was going to happen happened. Marius instantly is like, oh my god, I need to follow them, I need to find out where they live, kind of thing. So he runs out of the building, but they're in something called like a fiave. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly or what that exactly is. In my mind, I just picture like a carriage. And so they're way ahead of him. He can't catch up to them, and he doesn't have money to kind of take a taxi to catch up to them. So he just gives up and is like instantly in despair and being depressed and stuff, and it's just like, fuck, this sucks. Why did I have to give my money to that freaking girl? Blah, blah, blah kind of thing. Because he now sees like how they're scammers and stuff. But when he goes back in the apartment building, he is stopped by Eponine, which they still haven't said her name, and she's basically like, I can see you're sad, like what's going on, like I run all these errands for my dad, I can do something for you. And he asks her to get their address, Cosette and Jean Valjean, and she only agrees because he's like, I will give you anything. And she's just like, anything? So I'm kind of nervous to see what she's going to ask for. So Marius is still pretty much in stalker mode here. And the chapter ends with him hearing through the wall, he hears the Thenardiers be like, I recognized him, and that is referencing Jean Valjean, obviously. So it ends with him like jumping up to look through the peephole again. So that is where we'll end with for this week, so kind of a cliffhanger there. So we'll have to wait till mid next week actually to find out what is going to come of him getting the address and the Thenardier schemes and everything, because there was one little scene where Marius was outside of him seeing the dad, which I don't know if they ever said their first names or anything. The dad of the Thenardiers, he's talking to one of the like Underworld people, like one of the bad guys that had been talked about in a previous chapter. Like, it was the 4 guys who are like the kingpins of the Underworld in Paris kind of thing. He was talking to one of them. So I don't know if they're gonna try and like jump Jean Valjean when he comes back that evening or what's happening, but I'm assuming that Marius is gonna end up involved in that regardless. And also, if you can hear the laundry in the background, I apologize. So yeah, next week's reading vlog pretty much won't start till Wednesday, since Monday and Tuesday, the entire day, we're going to be in Mont Saint-Michel celebrating our 5th wedding anniversary. Actually, I'm gonna put this down. I really can't believe it's been 5 years, but it's literally like a 5-hour train ride, and we have to leave. Our train leaves at 7:30 in the morning, so we're gonna have to leave here pretty freaking early, but we get to Mont Saint-Michel pretty much right at noon, so we'll be having like lunch there right away, and we're actually staying on a hotel that's on the island, so we aren't going to visit the Abbey until after dinner, because they have like this night production that goes on until midnight, so we are going to go see that. And then Tuesday, the train back isn't until like 5:30, so we don't get back to the train station till like 10:30, which means we're probably not really going to be home till like 11:30. So 2 very long days ahead of us, and obviously that's probably how I'm going to open that reading vlog. But I definitely will not have time to read or bring that honkin' book with me. So yeah, besides our wedding anniversary will also be my grandmother's birthday, so happy birthday, Grandma. But thank you for hanging out with me. It is always appreciated. And until next time, bonne journée and au revoir.